What is going on, everyone? Tim from Tirfon Orbital. So I'm going to kill two birds with one stone today and talk about two installs that are on the same hilt. So this is for the Occularis, right? So this is for two different customers. I have installed these with the Special Master Supreme chassis that I designed for this hilt. So I do want to come into Fusion and talk a little bit about this chassis. I think I have done this once before when I talked about my personal install for this chassis, but I do want to do this one more time because the second round of these chassis have started to go out for the very, very generous and kind folks that have purchased it. So I do want to talk a little bit about the build and the install. And then of course we will come up top and talk a little bit about the modifications on both of these. So one of them has been etched and the other was modded by the customer, right? Very, very cool modifications on both of these, right? So without further ado, let's come into Fusion, take a look at this chassis. Okay, so here it is. The Tirfon Master Spectacular Supreme Heirloom Special chassis. All right. So obviously this upper crystal chamber section is all brass. So this is all one solid hunk of brass. This is really, really heavy, very, very significant piece of brass. When I do another one of these, I'll probably try to keep the brass down, right? Because when you're printing material in brass, cost-wise, you can start. It's more expensive when you've got more mass, right? So it's very heavy. This is a very heavy piece of brass, right? So a lot of detail in here. I'm really, really happy with how it came out, right? But it's a hefty piece of brass. I'm also really, really happy with the level of detail. Sorry, let me try and get this in center here. I'm really happy with the level of detail that I got in MJF nylon on this chassis, right? So this was done in MJF nylon. Really, really happy with how this came out. So this upper crystal chamber section has two holes in it for threaded rod, right? So when I receive these crystal chambers, I tap and thread these before shipping them out to the customers, right? So this is threaded with a 440 thread. Then I add the rods. The rods come through these holes and they are threaded with some 440 barrel lugs. And that is what secures this upper crystal chamber to the bottom part of the chassis. Okay. Spring side, or the negative spring, is housed right here. Up top here is a positive battery tab. So this is not a typical positive battery tab that we are used to seeing. So this is not the typical positive, like DigiKey positive battery tabs that we are used to seeing with most lightsaber parts suppliers. This is actually just a positive battery tab. I source these from Amazon because they are relatively cheap. They deliver very quickly, and I've been using these for a long time. This is what I design all of my chassis around, right? They do come with like a little tab at the bottom. I usually cut those off and just use the rectangular part, right? And that just kind of sits in that recessed square, okay? 28 millimeter speaker goes down here. There are two channels for your negative battery lead, for your kill switch leads, and as well for your speaker leads. Kill switch is right here underneath the board. Okay, Proffie board sits just underneath this lip, and that is it, right? So this upper crystal chamber will marry into this bottom chassis section. We've got two probes here that essentially I just glue them when I'm installing these. I just glue them down into these holes here, right? And these are printed in sterling silver. And then once you wire everything up, so when I install these, I wire the entire thing up as one solid chassis, right? And I have my switch leads kind of just dangling in this section. So I bring all of my leads up through here. You can kind of snake your blade leads through this hole and bring it up to your PCB emitter. So you've got your positive and your negative for your blade and your data line. I also wire up this upper marble section as sub blades, right? So you bring your leads to your bottom neopixel, then bring it out up through this hole to your upper neopixel, and then out of that neopixel up to your blade PCB, if that makes sense. That I do that to save space, so you're not bringing a lot of wires up through this little hole. And then you can bring your switch leads through this hole right here. And once you bring all your switch leads like through this hole and kind of fold them up in here, you can slide that entire chassis up into the hilt, right? I do have a hole here so this is the option. So if people want to utilize the set screw that is already in place on the Occularis to secure that upper chassis in place, you can utilize that if you want. You will have to tap this yourself. I actually, I just drill and tap my own M3 screw just to like secure the chassis in place, but you can utilize this if you'd like as well. That's just kind of like a pilot hole, basically, right? And that's it. Little detailed walkthrough on the chassis. Really, really happy with how this one came out, right? So let's come up top. Okay, so here they are. Two Occularis from Ignition Saber Company. So these were both sent to me already modified, right? So this bottom one came to me already etched from Pete over at Bad Batch Etching. So this thing is really, really beautiful, really, really cool, like Sith themed etch. The Sith code is around back here. It is really, really nice. Gunmetal on gold accents. I think this might be like a surfing type of treatment on here, or maybe even powder coated. It might be powder. It probably is powder coated actually. But yeah, just really, really nice treatment from Pete, fellow smuggler. Really, really nice on this guy. I think it really goes well with the crystal chamber as well. So the customer for this decided to keep the crystal chamber shiny and polished, and I think that gives a great contrast to that gunmetal on the outside of the hilt. But yeah, great specimen of this Occularis. So the Occularis is great. It's a great hilt for modifications, much like all of TJ's offerings at Ignition, right? They're all really great hilts for modifications. The Subversion is a great hilt to do all kinds of modifications on, right? So that is the etched version of the hilt. This top one was sent to me by the customer, and he did his own modifications as well. He added this D-ring. The wrap was done by him. He also added a very, very gnarly blade to this, but he did not ship it with the blade. So yeah, very, very cool modifications that was done to this one as well by the customer. This customer chose to have the crystal chamber weathered. I personally, I tend to think that I weathered mine on my personal as well. I think the weathered looks better. But yeah, really, really cool modifications on this one as well. So let's talk about how to use these guys. This one already has a battery in it. Let's put a battery in this bottom one. Spring side is your negative. So you put the negative part of your battery down towards the speaker. Hit that kill switch.
Don't start fawning just yet. I'm too old for it. I've been trained in your Jedi arts. Break out.
All right. Now this other one.
Hello, Zuko here.
All right. So once you get your batteries in, you can put your grips in place. Slide your grip in, twist it to lock it in place. Kind of line up that notch with this upper knurled brass thumb screw. And tighten that, and you're good to go. let's come down to the bottom. So I'm completely neglecting to mention that both of these have custom glass marbles from Noah Drew. Both have circular orbs in the middle. I am forgetting what they are. And I know I did tell me at one time and I forgot. I actually have the same marble in mine, but really, really cool effect in those, right?
Back away! I will deal with this Jedi slime myself!
So let's see what else we put on here. All right, so let's put a blade in it. Okay, so this is both of them are 1-inch blade holders. You want to put your blade in that blade holder so it's resting on those PCB pins. Whoops. There is a knurled thumb screw in the front here that serves as your blade retention. Tighten that and you're ready to go.
Lord Vader. Revert.
So I put color change on this, on both of them. To access color change, you want to hold down aux and tap main. That's going to get you into color change or color wheel. You rotate the hilt to find a color you like, and then you tap main again. Let's see what else we put on here. Let's try that again. Great hilt. So let's put a blade in the other one really quick. Great sounding hilt. So this one has a really interesting blade plug in it. And the customer put his own thumb screw in this one too, which I actually really like. This thumb screw.
Hello, Zuko here.
So to scroll through your fonts, obviously, you want to hit aux. While the blade is pointing up, you'll scroll forward through your fonts. If you point your blade down, you will go backwards in your fonts. Great hilt. Great hilts. Both of them are awesome. Big fan of the Occularis, obviously, right? So great hilts for customizations, great hilts for etching, and obviously I had a lot of fun doing the special chassis for this one. So to both of the customers, thank you very much for trusting me with your installs. Thank you very much, everyone who purchased a chassis for this run. I really, really appreciate the support, right? So anyhow, thank you for watching, everyone. And with that being said, may the force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.